Hello everyone, this week on JayEmm Cars we discussed the Mini Clubvan, a car that I think is BMW's biggest missed opportunity. Here's why. The Mini is a car that strikes me very much like the Apple of the automotive world. They seem to be able to sell them by the bucket load to basically anyone. There isn't really a typical Mini driver. They sell them to young men, they sell them to young women, they sell them to old women, to old men, to students, to retirees, to everybody. And there's a Mini for every occasion. You've got the regular one, you've got the one diesel, you've got the Cooper, Cooper S, John Cooper Works, you've got the regular hatch shape, you've got the Clubman, you've got the Coupe, the convertible, the Paceman, the All-4, the list goes on and on and on. They keep selling people slightly different versions of the same thing, and I frankly never really understood it. The original to me is the only one that you should really consider. I mean, let's face it, if you want a 4x4, why buy a Mini? Despite the car's enduring popularity, endless variations, there's one model in particular which stands out as a real failure for BMW's new Mini brand. That's this, the Clubvan. To understand this car properly, you have to understand what it is. It is simply put a Mini Clubman. That's the stretch Mini. It's slightly longer, not really wider or taller than the hatchback. And in this version, they've ditched the back seats and filled in the rear windows with a big metal panel. That's very important because in the United Kingdom that means it qualifies as a commercial vehicle, hence club van. And if you're a company, this has very positive implications in terms of registering the car as a business vehicle. Being a commercial vehicle makes the car fall under a completely different tax bracket to having, say, a company car. The Clubvan was available with a range of 4 different engines, 2 petrol, 2 diesel, and appeared to have all the ingredients for a great success. Looks good, Mini's got a great following, it's very well built, and you can register it as a commercial vehicle. What could go wrong? Here's what went wrong. My dad had a minivan in the early 1980s. He loved that. He had it before he got married and before he started his own business. It was a very faithful companion to him. So when the new minivan came out, he decided he had to have one. I was with him when he tried to go and buy one. First off, we had to speak to the special van representative in the Mini branch because you couldn't speak to the normal Mini car person about it for whatever reason. And then we talked about buying a van, and it wasn't a case of wanting to drive one or test one, he was just gonna buy. The only criteria he really had was that he wanted one with a sunroof. He wanted a fully optioned car, but like me, he really likes having a sunroof, not just aircon. But they said, sorry, can't have one with a sunroof. But why not? Because this is quite clearly a Clubman with no back seats or back windows. And the Clubman is available with a sunroof. So there's no real reason they couldn't supply a Clubvan with it. And to add insult to injury, the Clubvan was only available in a selection of 4 fairly drab colours. Cream, black, and a couple of others that I've now forgotten. That's where they went wrong. You see, because there's a market around certain vehicles. For example, the Volkswagen Transporter. That's an iconic vehicle for a van. And the great thing about it is that you can do basically whatever you want to it. Not just that, VW will do whatever you want to it for you. So for company purchasers that just want an easy sale, they want something off the shelf, a warranty-backed product, it's great. I've seen people spend 60, 70, 80,000 pounds on what amounts to a camper van. Because it's a factory-built product and they do an incredibly nice job of it. And that's what BMW should have done with this. Rather than restricting the options and the combinations and the things that you could have with them, they should have said, yeah, anything that we can do to a normal Mini, we'll do to this. Whatever you want, any colour you want, any options you want. You want the John Cooper Works engine in it? Fine, we'll put that in it. And the thing is that, yes, that would have been expensive, but there's plenty of people out there who would have happily paid for it. You've got the very well-heeled businesses, the little London boutique shops that make loads and loads of money and just want a cool, funky transport machine. You see them now driving around in sort of vintage vans, things like old Citroen vans, that sort of stuff. And the thing is that a lot of those vans are going to be hard for them to use because with increasing environmental restrictions, you can't drive a lot of these older vehicles through a city anymore. And that's where a modern but retro looking thing like the Mini would really have won a lot of sales. I think the Mini is quite similar to the Fiat 500 and a Bath 595, 695 in the way that the main car works, but of course the Fiat doesn't have a commercial equivalent. In fact, BMW don't have a commercial vehicle of any description, not since they discontinued this. And maybe that's part of the reason that it didn't work, is that they just didn't understand the market that they were getting into, and they just tried to treat it like any sort of normal small van. And that was a mistake, because it wasn't just a normal small van, it was a minivan. And to show you just how cool a minivan could and should have been, that's why we have this example here today. Because this started life as one of BMW's demo cars. It's a minivan, Coupe D, so it's got the 1.6 litre diesel engine. If you've got a Citroen C4, or I think a Peugeot 407 or 307 or any of those cars, or Ford C-Max, it's the engine you're going to be familiar with. 1.6 litres, turbo diesel, common rail injection, about 110 horsepower as standard. This vehicle, however, has had £21,000 worth of upgrades done to it. And this represents everything the minivan should have been. Let's show you what's been done to it. This vehicle began as a cream car. It's now been wrapped in this very bright white. The Mini badge has been wrapped in sort of orange. The person we bought it from, his daughter called it Olaf. I'll leave you to wonder why. It has this hideously horrible number plate on it, but other than that, most of it I actually quite like the look of, and that comes from someone that doesn't generally like Minis. Got the little rally style fog lights on there. It's got a full John Cooper Works kit on it. It has John Cooper Works wheels. It's got John Cooper Works brakes at the front. It's got full John Cooper Works suspension all round. Inside is even better. It has a pair of Cobra Misano seats, carbon fiber backs, stitched by Cobra with blue diamond stitching. It's got this very, very bling bling gear knob. Door cards have been stitched in the same way. It's been absolutely fully loaded. It's got sat nav, it's got heated seats, it's got everything in here. Sound system has been fully upgraded. So the front has a set of Focal speakers and the back has the same. So you have not one, but two of these bad boys in here. My favorite view of this thing is from here. How well you can see that, I don't know. I suspect not very well at all. But when you open the load doors at the back, you get a glimpse of the back of these seats and you can see the carbon fiber weave on them. It's a very, very, very nice view. The load space is not that large, but it is uniformly shaped and the lip to load is not too big. A lot of the sort of vans of this size, it's a very difficult hump to kind of get over. So if you want to transport something large but bulky, this is quite good. There's enough space in here for a selection of amazingly coloured shirts. At the back, you have these exhausts with carbon fiber wrap on the tips. And the steering wheel has also been retrimmed in Alcantara, my favourite material, with this nice tricolour stitching at the bottom. It's a really, really good looking thing. I suppose I should take this opportunity to mention the fact that I don't actually like Minis that much. I've never really been much of a hot hatch person, and I'm generally of the belief that there are usually better cars for less money for pretty much whatever you want to do. However, when I drive them, the newer ones in particular, I do enjoy it. They are nice to drive, I have to concede that fact. Would I ever have one myself? No. Would I have one of these though? That's a trickier question. Now the engine in this is serviceable, let's say. When you consider the fact that it is a van, it's actually pretty decent. This has been remapped by a company called Black Code, who conveniently don't publish any numbers or specs on their website. Now, I believe this engine is about 110 horsepower in standard trim, so I suspect that they've got maybe 130 out of it. Like a lot of turbo diesels of this type, it's got a good slug of torque at the low to mid RPM range, and it kind of loses interest very, very quickly. The red line is only about 5,000 RPM, so not exactly a rev monster. The clutch takes a little bit of work, mostly because of the fact that the engine delivers either no torque at all or all of its torque, so getting a smooth launch is a little bit tricky. You kind of either nearly stall or just lurch forwards. That being said, when you're on the move, things improve considerably. The 6-speed box is an absolute delight, and the car is very, very refined. This does have the John Cooper Works suspension on it, as mentioned earlier, and that gives it a very, very taut and firm ride, but it isn't crashy. That's probably a benefit of the car's relatively low curb weight, certainly when there's nothing in the back. That's good. Obviously, it wouldn't drive like this as standard, but we're using this car as an example of what could be achieved. And when you get it onto some twisty roads, is good. This kind of road. The steering is really nicely weighted. I tend to like the steering in any BMW product, and let's not kid ourselves here. This is a BMW. This is not a Mini. There's no limited slip diff in this, so the car can scrabble for traction a little bit, especially when you're trying to pull away and the surface is not great. Maybe the thing that most annoys me with modern Mini is that you go in one of their dealerships and they've got big signs everywhere saying maximum go-kart feel. To me, it's kind of like Aston Martin trying to push the whole power, beauty, soul thing on you. If a car has that, you don't need to tell anyone. They'll just know. Everyone knows that Minis are fun to drive. You either know and you care, or you don't know and you don't care. That's just the way it is. The car's got just enough go in it for small overtakes like that, you sort of 50-60 mile an hour speed. It's not the fastest thing in the world, but plenty quick enough to have fun. It's economical too. I've used this engine in a lot of other cars. Returns pretty good MPG. Not class leading, but perfectly good enough for most people. So as much of a not Mini person as I am, when I get behind the wheel of one of these, I do like it. I do enjoy it. So to come back to the original question, why didn't they sell very many of these? Well, these were very expensive to start off with. You could easily expect one of these over £20,000, and for somebody buying a small van of this type, that's a lot of money. Then at the opposite end of the scale, for the people that want to do the whole transporter thing, the boutique customized van type thing, well, that wasn't offered from the factory, and I think that is by far their biggest single mistake. I think they should have gone after the high-end market. Don't go after the people that are going to go and buy a Ford Fiesta van or a Peugeot 207 van or a Fiat Punto van, those kind of things. You want to get the little cliquey people, the people that are happy to spend 30,000 quid on what is a Mini with no back seats. You know, they should have done one of these with the full John Cooper Works engine in it. I think they'd have sold them. Somebody probably said, oh no, it's too expensive and no one's going to buy it. They would have bought it. They would have. Not many, but you'd have sold it. They'd have been a really cool cult vehicle. And so many different variants of the Mini are flogged. I think that this is one of the ones that they really, really needed to try harder with, and they gave up. And that's why I think they only sold 3,370 of them. It's a crying shame, because it's a damn good car. What do you guys think? Do you think it's a cool wagon, or do you think it's just an overpriced Mini with a lack of seating? You let me know. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.